I should probably start, actually. I should probably start the reaction, huh? Hi, everyone! Sorry, that song has been stuck in my head for way too long. and I was humming it as I started recording. I don't know. I'm in a good mood today. How are y'all doing? Welcome in. I have some good news that I just want to share real quick with everybody, including in the future. I'm going to be moving out soon. I've got a really nice place that I'm moving into, and I'm excited. So yeah, but regardless, May 20th is upcoming, and the Battletech fans will know. May 20th is, of course, when the Battle of Tukayyid took place. And the Battle of Tukayyid, I mean, we'll get into it. We're checking out Tex's video on it after all. But the Battle of Tukayyid is a very interesting one because it's kind of like a really big deal in the Battletech universe. This is sort of... It's not like... I don't think it's the biggest in, like, sheer amount of you know, mechs and whatever deployed. I think there are bigger battles in the setting, though it's up there. But this is sort of the really, really important battles. This is the D-Day. This is Kanai. This is the Kaiser crossing the Rubicon sort of level. These are the really, really powerful, really, really important battles that are, yeah, that history is written about. So, you know what? I've been rambling for like 2 minutes already. Let's just get right into it, shall we?
Hey there folks, Tex the Black Pants Legion here. Yes, we are working on the next Tex Talks Battletech, but this one here is going to be a special. An in-between episode. This episode is something that had to be said, and had to be said today of all days. Those of you who know why are smiling. Those of you who don't, well, buckle up. Here comes an education.
Oh boy.
Today is not a talk about a machine. Today is a celebration.
Wait, hold on. I need to see that. Because Basketius. Phineas Trashicus Mechicus. That's cute. I like that. That's pretty great.
Today is a celebration. Today is May the 20th. Today we remember the Battle of Tukayyid. May the 20th, 3052 ended a battle, and in essence, a war. In a single contest of will, manpower, supplies, and crazy, the clan invasion was stopped dead on a formerly sleepy agricultural world. A world that was chosen as a proxy battle site in a desperate attempt to trick the clans into stopping their war machine in its tracks by taking advantage of their stupid ways. After all, the stakes were as high as they could be. By 3052, the clans were making great conquests of the Inner Sphere, nearly annihilating Rosselhog and threatening the capital of the Draconis Combine.
By the way, god dang it. I know. Rosselhog was basically built to be killed by the clans. But like, I still am kind of sad that it happened nonetheless. I am glad, however, that they get to go on afterwards, in a way. Which is nice. And it's actually kind of crazy, if you think about it. The sheer strength of the clans was such that even while nerfing themselves, they could still obliterate the heck out of the Inner Sphere. Because, yeah, sure, their logistics were overstrained. Sure, there was, like, a lot of problems with the way they fought, etc. But the clans really shouldn't be underestimated, because as much as they can be a bunch of clowns sometimes, they are also very powerful nonetheless. And I guess that goes for a lot of Battletech, honestly. Like, don't underestimate the Inner Sphere. They might be a bunch of clowns, but they're also very powerful.
Threat so serious the DCMS lightened their death to all mercenary stance just a tad. It was assumed that if this war continued, the Inner Sphere would be a dominion of the clans within a few short years. The great houses, while having a numerical advantage, were struggling to defend themselves. This, for them, was a different kind of war. Their seemingly inadequate equipment and frontline combatants melted time and again in the face of clan discipline, superior training, and people bred for conflict just like this.
Yep, this is what I was talking about, where, like, the clans are immensely powerful, regardless of anything else, regardless of all the other stuff around it. They are very, very powerful.
When it became apparent that Terra was the primary invasion objective, Comstar stepped out of the shadows and decided to act. Comstar could no longer fence-sit and facilitate. Comstar had to roll up its sleeves and show the clanners who was boss. Comstar, being the shifty fucks they are, decided to abuse the system. This is called asymmetrical strategic planning.
And fair is fair, it's actually quite smart of Comstar. Like, I think the Battle of Tukayyid is probably Comstar at its best. I think about 30 years later, I think it's 30 years later, when the Blakists start popping up, probably Comstar at its worst, so there's a very interesting, you know, best to worst kind of vibe there.
In layman's terms, this is called tactical fuckery. So Comstar being Comstar and having studied their opponents in detail, they decided to bring the clans to a single point and annihilate them. In 3052, Comstar issued a batch-all. Batch-all in clanner speak is a direct challenge, a contest of wills to be won.
Literally battle challenge.
And this was a challenge that the clans could not, without significant loss of honor, pass up. Comstar openly challenged the invading clans to the following. Fight on a chosen world, in this case Tukayyid. The clans would be invited to bring their very best. Comstar would bring theirs. Each clan would have 2 cities as objectives. If the clans could conquer and hold them, they would win. Comstar would act as the defenders, and would try to contest the objectives with all they had.
I think the fun part here, by the way, is that obviously, to an extent, this is a kind of Battletech is a war game shining through into the lore, where it's like, this would be a really cool battle. Let's make it happen in the lore, and it's like, yeah, it is really cool. It is really fun. But the nice thing is that because the lore is very consistent and generally like pretty effective, it works. Like, it doesn't feel fake, if that makes sense, which is nice.
Clans won, Comstar would make no challenge to the clan conquest. If the clans were to lose, however, they would have to obey a 15-year truce on their honor to halt all further invasion from a delineation line set at Tukayyid. To this direct challenge...
Which for how long? 50 years? Was it?
They would have to obey a 15-year truce on their...
15, okay.
Honor to halt all further invasion
15.
from a delineation line set at Tukayyid. To this direct challenge, the clanners agreed. This was bargained and done. After all, how could they refuse a direct challenge from a jumped-up telecom company pretending to be the inheritors of Star League?
Admittedly, I do get that from the clans, like... Comstar is insanely powerful, obviously, but it does come down to they are a telecom company that is just armed with a lot of weaponry.
Nerve on those bastards. As it turns out, underestimating Comstar would be about as smart as letting Michael Vick babysit your dog. Immediately, clanners began to bargain internally for the privilege of drop order, or who gets to hit the planet first and how much shit they intend to bring. This was a contest in itself, bidding forces in order of battle, in order to out-honor the honorable honor for honor's sake. Honor on the side, hold the honor with extra honor. Some clanners even did almost a 3rd grade level of homework on their opposing commander, Comstar's own Anastasius Vogt.
Oh boy, so I really like this guy. This guy is really fun. Vogt is... in my opinion, and this might be kind of a controversial opinion, I think he is very much the Kerensky of his time, which is saying something, considering who he's fighting.
The clanners dismissed him as a paper general, someone with no military experience, leading an army of bureaucrats driving machines they couldn't understand from an era long gone. The clanners thought he was nothing more than a pretender, a joke, a noble in the guise of a soldier. He was to them a non-threat, leading an army of children, pretending at war. The clans had brought their best and brightest. To answer a call of this extraordinary magnitude, they fielded their best commanders and most elite battle-hardened soldiers. They brought forward their best mechs and equipment from the invasion corridors. They would take to this field of battle with their khans leading from the front. This was their greatest challenge of the era. This was their finest hour. They realized this would be a glorious battle sung for generations, a tipping point in their history.
Oh, they're not wrong about that. You're not wrong about that. It was a tipping point, and it was sung about for a very long time. Kind of reminds me of, in history, quite often, especially ancient history, when we're talking like the Greeks or the Romans or the Persians, there's a lot of times like somebody makes a prediction, or like a prophecy that's like interpreted as a positive by the conqueror. Like, for example, the Spartans were told at one point that they wanted all of Arcadia, right? And it was not given to them. Instead, they would be given the fields of a nearby city to measure. Thing is, they were defeated, enslaved, and then got to measure the fields. So, you know, that kind of stuff I find really interesting.
Oh, how right they were. You have to understand, this was what clanners had wanted, a triumph of their way of life, their society, their ethos versus the barbarians they intended to conquer. Above all, honor was on the line. It was a challenge to everything they stood for, and defeat seemed impossible. Finally, the Inner Sphere had the grit to actually obey their correct rules of combat and issue a challenge to determine this all in a reasonable manner to a clanner. Finally, the Inner Sphere would play by their rules. But, as it turns out, where the clan was concerned with honor and protocol, Comstar was concerned with, well, winning. On the defense, Comstar brought everything they had. Protocols of ancient technologies were unsealed, opened, and emptied, and pressed into the hands of untested, but well-trained and semi-green pilots. Some of these pilots took to the field in weapons that had in many cases not been used in 300 years.
And the crazy thing about that means like a lot of SLDF mechs, like including royal mechs, were being used by Comstar here. I'm sure there was some like non-SLDF mechs too. In fact, I think there's a story. I need to find it again. I remember reading a story about an Urbi at Tukayyid at one point in one of the cities, but I need to find it again.
For this titanic conquest, Comstar emptied every garrison in the Inner Sphere except Terra. Comstar dedicated 12 entire armies to the field of battle and was prepared to lose them all to save Terra alone. And while the comm guards were an admittedly untested force of green pilots, they had excellent training and knew the stakes. If they could win just this once, they would stop the invasion.
Yeah.
Because clanners didn't know how to engage in takesies-backsies with any level of aptitude and just invade anyways if they lost. But if Comstar lost and mangled the clan war machine, they could buy time for reinforcements from the great houses.
Yep, and basically continue cheating, which, sure, the clans would be pissed, but who cares? Who cares what the clans want? We're trying to win a war here, you know? Which I do kind of enjoy that sort of sense of the dirty war, I admit. This is something that happens, for example, in World War II, very famously. The SAS did a lot of like very dirty things in the desert, driving around with their jeeps, blasting people before they even got up, etc. It's a very interesting sense of how war evolves throughout history, because if you look at something like World War II or World War I, that's a lot more total war, while any war before that, while it did have its moments of barbarity, certainly, had they like to pretend like it's not pretty, like it's pretty, you know. There was this sense of, oh, we are gentlemen warriors going to war to fight each other on an equal scale, and that doesn't really. It's not really what happens. Let's be honest. That's not what a war is. War isn't glorious. War isn't nice. War just sucks. Like, war just sucks. But there's this sense of honor and glory and all that stuff. And you get that with the clans here as well, a sort of naivete, almost.
Either way, Comstar was going into the battle knowing this would be a meat grinder. Even with their equipment being close to battle parity, they would be the underdog, and this would be their Alamo. The order of battle for 3052 is well documented.
Let's take a look-see. So, Clan Smoke Jaguar, Danger Heights, Porter Seas, First Drop, May 1st, the Clan Nova Cats, Georgia Tossed, I don't know what that means. Spanik and Look, I think that means that, I think those are names of the commanders.
This is the clan drop order for Tukayyid.
Yeah,
their objectives. And the battle that unfolded was apocalyptic.
Interestingly, 5 days post initial drop, the Wolf Clan.
The planet-wide battle lasted from the 1st of May to the 20th. For 20 days, the fate of the Inner Sphere was held in the balance as a telecom company fought invaders from beyond the sphere. And how they did it is really something else.
I feel like once you sum up something like that, like a telecom company fought human invaders from beyond the Inner Sphere. If you think about that for a second, it does put into perspective kind of how absurd Battletech is at times. And I say this with love, mind you. I am not saying this as a, oh, Battletech bad kind of deal, but more as a sense of, well, it's kind of ridiculous at times, and I kind of enjoy that.
Comstar may be a lot of things, crazy, duplicitous, deceptive, all-knowing, quasi-religious fanatics, but they had very little practical experience in warfare. In fact, prior to this point, Comstar more or less had to eliminate problems using the old Soviet method. Comstar was, beneath everything else, an information-based organization and drew on history for the direction for this battle. Comstar opted for defense in depth, also known as an elastic defense, also known as a castle defense, or in the modern era as a hippity-hoppity get-off-my-property. And pulled out.
Elastic defense is very interesting because basically what you do is you have a light defense that your enemy can penetrate, but then you can use rapid response forces to cut them off and destroy them, or possibly even use other forces in your front line to effectively close the line around them, etc. Defense in depth also means you get a lot of focus on artillery and fast speed movement. Fast speed movement? That's not Armia. I'm sorry, I didn't sleep very well. Fast speed movement.
All stops by using a series of rapid, unending hit-and-run engagements against the invaders. The defense was dependent on hitting the clanners at every opportunity, ambushing them, then retreating, hitting and fading, and pushing them to the breaking point all the while.
And especially because the clans are... like, most of the clan mechs are kind of built for a stand-up fight. This should be very effective against them. You know, smack them from afar with artillery, frickin' run away, peek out for a second, blast them with some lasers and get the heck out of there. Stuff like that.
Clanners had the advantage in mobility and equipment. Double heat sinks negate a lot of heat, so the Inner Sphere had to push them all that much harder. And as soon as the clanners mustered a counterattack, the Inner Sphere would fade away, leading to the next offensive point, and then engage again. So every time the clanners paused to think, they dropped artillery and airstrikes on their head. Every time they paused to survey a path, they were hit by marauding scout vehicles, mechs, VTOLs, aerospace assets, or even more artillery. Sometimes Comstar would let clanner scout vehicles pass the main body, and then snap to ambush the main column advance, cutting scouts off and surprising the hell out of everyone. Prepared defenses allowed Comstar to achieve a spectacular success in defense in depth. All battle preparations were for rapid redeployment of forces, reconsolidation of damaged units, and hardened defensive points to force clanners to battle. Even the ground was prepared in advance for this bloodbath.
As it should be.
Every bridge was rigged to blow or set to sabotage. Concealed bunkers along every attack route provided excellent firing points and served as effective anchors for defense in depth.
This is a very good strategy to just attrit your opponent. Since we mentioned like the Soviets during World War II very much relied on this sort of thing, where they would lure the Germans in the heartland of Russia and then proceed to wear them down in a lot of ways. Not just by winter, but in general by battle. Stalingrad is probably one of the more famous examples, but it's true for like most of Soviet defensive doctrine during World War II. Honestly, just Russian defensive doctrine in general.
Entire cities were completely covered into elaborate kill zones. Every access corridor was a trap. Every road was...
Sorry, I'm just imagining a bunch of Urbies in a city and like the clans enter and you just hear a bunch of autocannon fire and it's just like, ah! Like a horror movie, but it's Urbies.
It's a potential minefield. Every field of planted grain potentially sown with explosives or concealing weapon systems. Clanners had to worry that behind every blade of grass was a rifle barrel, a bayonet, a missile, a tank, an artillery piece, or a mech. Comstar had prepared the planet into an enormous killing field, and when the battle commenced, the Com Guards hit them like a vengeful god. And how did the clan manage in the face of all this? Let me tell you a story. When Clan Smoke Jaguar hit the planet, they landed with 2 full galaxies of units. This is the equivalent of several brigades of power armor-wearing, nightmare-fuel-drinking, eugenics-born stormtroopers, psychotic mech pilots devoid of all human emotion but hate and pride, and the leadership needed to drive these tools into the heart of the enemy with zero hesitation, and Comstar completely ruined them by exploiting terrain, prepared defensive positions, and in one spectacular instance, getting them to advance through a seemingly undefended pass, only to spring an ambush and turn it into a shooting gallery. Comstar fighting Smoke Jaguar was like the Harlem Globetrotters versus 3rd graders. When Smoke Jaguar gave up and left the planet with full material losses calculated in, they lost all but 22% of their equipment. 32% of their total committed forces were killed outright. More were horrifically mangled and damaged beyond any use to the clan war machine. The Jaguars had kept fighting, thinking that they had almost annihilated their enemies, because who could stand against them? They were Smoke Jaguar. They were goaded into yet one more attack, one more stand, one more battle, over and over and over again, because they believed they were on the verge of victory, and every time Comstar would hit them all the harder.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, again, shows kind of that idea of clan superiority, and why you should never underestimate your opponent. Never. Never.
Jaguar could not conceive of an enemy that could stand up to their might. Well, Comstar did, and succeeded. And they didn't stop there. When Clan Novacat decided to land troops and equipment using a spectacular demonstration of the incredibly effective hover drop maneuver, showing off their elite skill before their enemies on the field of battle, Comstar decided enough was enough and ruined their air show. How? Comstar blitzed aerospace assets in, attacked and kamikazed the drop ships.
Oh, okay.
In an instant, Nova Cat lost Alpha Galaxy's command ship, and the rest were immediately grounded. In this confusion, Comstar gained air superiority, and guess how that went? They turned the landing zone into a turkey shoot. After the Com
God dang, that's not a good way for a clanner to go, you know, like, just in a barrel, effectively.
Easily managed to maintain air superiority over the drop zones and shot the living bejesus out of the clanners as they tried to forge a beachhead, leaving the Nova Cats in short supply with extreme difficulties in maintaining any effective communication, command, and control. As it turns out, it's hard to do any of the above while getting your ass handed to you by crazy people. The Comguards then launched an all-out kamikaze attack while the Nova Cats were busy trying to capture Comstar Depot. Why? They were out of supplies. At a tremendous loss, Nova Cat was pushed off the planet. Why? Comstar threw everything they had at them while they had their backs turned. Of their invasion force, 3 Nova Cat stars survived. That's 15 mechs out of an invasion force. It was a near total wipe, and that's not the worst beating that was delivered.
That's insane, by the way. Like, that is such a mauling. And it makes sense, because Comstar is just going crazy on these guys. Not giving them any chance.
When Clan Diamond Shark landed, they had an army. When they left, it was gone. In memory, an entire invasion force relegated to the past tense. Later, when Steel Viper landed, they were goaded by Comstar into continuing their attack to such a point that they ran out of ammunition, until they ran into the 321st and 401st Comguards, who had plenty, and decided to share it with them at gunpoint. Steel Viper lost so hard that...
can I just say, I love how text constructs sentences. That's maybe like a weird thing to focus on, but I just really enjoy it, honestly.
And on and on and on it went. Every time a clan or commander tried to back down, a Comstar commander would issue a challenge to get them to do stupid things. Then Comstar would be waiting there with enough forces to jump on them like amphetamine-soaked circus monkeys. The clanners were unprepared for a war like this. This was not a war they had ever fought before.
The Dirty War.
And thanks to Comstar's success, it was not a war they would ever fight again. Comstar didn't falter. They knew the cost of this. They bulldozed the corpses of their fallen comrades out of the way and kept attacking. When a clanner unit was spotted, something was flying at it. Artillery, rockets, missiles, aerospace assets, VTOLs, tanks, infantry, whatever was at hand was put on that problem until it stopped. Comstar ground its own forces down on the clans, knowing that no matter how fancy their crap was, you could still die if you tried hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, say what you like. And while the clanner stuff is very, very powerful, it is never invincible.
And in the end, the clans lost. Only Clan Wolf managed to achieve its stated objectives. Ghost Bear and Jade Falcon took a draw. Every single other clan flatly lost. And not just lost. Some were eradicated in all but name.
That's a wild thing to think about, right? Like, effectively, some clans just stopped existing at the Battle of Tukayyid. Like I said, it's Comstar's finest hour. It's Comstar at its best. But it's gonna have consequences.
By guess, it's roughly estimated that clanners lost 40% of their committed fighting forces, and many more were horribly damaged. This would be bad enough for any army, considering that it would take them out of the fight for years even if their resupply and supporting logistics were on the front lines with them. Which they weren't. They were all the way back in clanner space. But this is one step worse. This isn't just clanner rank and file, this is the best they fucking had.
Yeah, these are the big boys, but also, yeah, something I really appreciate in Battletech is that logistics matter. Now, I don't think every story needs to have logistics mattering to a huge degree. But if you're talking about war, logistics needs to matter, at least to some degree. It's something that I always found a little bit unfortunate in something like Star Wars, where obviously Star Wars is very fantasy, it's very kind of more goofy to an extent, but a lot of the logistics kind of gets hand-waved in that, and I always found it a bit of a shame. But Battletech, so...
They had brought out their very best with their most promising commanders, only to be utterly annihilated. They lost more than they could ever hope to replace in such a short time. They lost irreplaceable weapons, manpower, entire generations of their finest, to include 2 Khans on the field of battle. The Green Comguards managed to grind the clan war machine to a damn halt by throwing their bodies into the fray and fighting until they died screaming. Every time a Comguard was gunned down, another stepped up to take their place. Mech after mech, tank after tank, infantryman after infantryman. From PPC to bayonet, Comstar fought them and died for every inch of soil. Needless to say, Comstar's losses were beyond count.
Oh, yeah.
As it turns out, if you fight a war like Zhukov, you're going to lose a few people.
You know what's funny? Zhukov was mostly an offensive general rather than an defensive one. Zhukov actually managed to reduce casualties on the Soviet fronts that he commanded significantly, believe it or not. A lot of casualties that the Soviets did have in during their offensive actions is just because when you're attacking someone, you're going to take casualties, you know? If there's a bunker somewhere, it's very likely you're going to take some casualties. And overall, like, Zhukov is a very impressive general. If you've never looked up his conduct of, like Operation Bagration, for example, that one is fascinating and very, very impressive. That being said, I always find the small moments more interesting, so while battles are certainly something, personally, what's the word I'm trying to look? I like seeing daily lives of people, so I think in the future I will start focusing on that a little bit more. That being said, let's continue.
This defeat changed the clans. It rocked them. It upset their way of everything. It changed their culture. Some clans changed the way they viewed the Inner Sphere and became wardens instead of crusaders. Some clans had lost their entire command and control on the fields of battle. Some lost all of their functional equipment in the invasion corridor, removing them as a power for years to come. Some had lost every great warrior and every promising warrior for a generation. Clans like Steel Viper would make themselves feel better by deciding to crusade against the Jade Falcons and, well, sorting things out through hurt feelings. Clans like Diamond Shark would find themselves suddenly in a better place as their warrior caste more or less disappeared overnight, only to be replaced by a very forward-thinking, friendly, and diplomatic merchant caste.
It's funny to think about how culture can be impacted to such an extent. And in a way, this speaks very heavily to the feudalistic style that Battletech has. Quite often, Battletech can get away from that feudalism a lot, which is not a bad thing necessarily. It's not inherently bad, but if you think about it, a lot of medieval history is you get one big battle, maybe like once a century, maybe like once a decade. Let's say actually, like one big battle every decade, and all the politics is around that, like the result of that battle. A good example is the Poles defeating the Teutonic Knights at the Battle of Grunwald. Like, that was a massive battle, it happened, and then after that, a lot of the politics was just based on outcome of said battle.
Some clans would look at the Inner Sphere in silent awe, wondering why this had happened in the first place. They were confused. What had they gained? Why did they fight this way? Their opponent had invited them to fight, and it was a fight they foolishly underbid and lost because their honor demanded it. It was a fight they lost because honor was more important than strategic vision. And sadly, it was a battle they lost to a glorified, self-important, fanatical telecommunications company. And this victory was everything to the Inner Sphere. Mostly, it gave a sense of unity to the Inner Sphere, for a time anyways. They would later undo this in record time. However, on the technical side, the scrap and salvage recovery would bolster engineering, research, and design efforts in the Inner Sphere for years to come.
Oh yeah. A big reason why a lot of technology starts leaping in the Inner Sphere all of a sudden is part of Tukayyid and the clan invasion. Because, you know, the Lyran Commonwealth picks up some stuff here and there. The Draconis Combine, you know, a Kanamech gets destroyed somewhere. It gets left behind. A few of its lasers are still intact. Now you have clan lasers. You might be able to reverse engineer them, learn from them, make your own version. Maybe not as good as the clan tech, but better than what you had before.
And now, the opinion of an asshole. Why the clan lost wasn't purely for honor's sake, though. That played a part. A crap culture plus a crap value system equals crap battle theory. However, the clanners weren't only undone by their cultural ideology. They were undone.
But before he says it, I'm going to guess he's gonna say it's about infighting as well.
Done by an asshole exploiting it. Remember Folked?
Oh, never mind.
Folked, the bureaucrat general playing war. Turns out he wasn't a bureaucrat. And truth be told, that wasn't even his real name. He was born Frederick Steiner. He was at one point the scion of House Steiner. He was a hero and a mad bastard. He was an accomplished leader and commander of men, and not without a dark side. His dangerous path through life led him to take a new name and become reborn as Anastasius Folked after burning his bridges as a Steiner royal. He was handed over to Comstar, and with his new name came new duties. Through Comstar, he became a defender of the inner sphere, a commander of men again. He was a phenomenal military mind before his rebirth, and was at core a soldier and little else. With the resources of Comstar and their omnipresent intelligence operations, he was the perfect man to win at Tukayyid. He knew that to defeat an enemy, you had to overpower them, outsmart them, and in the end, crush them. He was so driven to flatly destroy enemies that all of his opponents throughout his life considered him to be completely incapable of subtlety. He was more than ready to throw bodies.
Who needs subtlety in war? Drown them in ammunition.
At a problem until the problem went away. He knew the enemy could not replace losses too easily, and clearly saw the means to cripple the clan war machine. As a man, he hated politics, he hated social courtesy, he hated protocol, he hated honor and bowing. He only liked war. And the clanners made the worst mistake possible you can make when looking at an opponent. They dismissed him as a joke and failed to respect him, and for that, he fucking broke them.
Yeah, the clans underestimated their opponent. That's absolutely true. I wonder sometimes, like, imagine if somehow Fort ended up on the clanner side. He would have been terrifying. Quite bluntly, it would have been absolutely terrifying. I mean, Terra would have fallen, like, almost certainly. There's no way.
For the end, I'll turn to a quote from the man himself. Wars are not won on the field of combat. Battles are. But those are only ever part of the story. To win a war, you need to break the enemy's resolve, to force him to accept defeat. Otherwise, the war will never end. Too many conflicts persist because battles are won, but the hearts and minds of the people are not. Winning involves every level of society. From the generals and the politicians to the shopgirls and the street cleaners. The infantryman with his rifle may be the blunt weapon used to win this fight, but he is neither the instigator nor the concluder.
And that's what Hannibal mistook. I keep going back to Roman history, but it's such a good comparison because Battle of Cannae, he won. And he won so many other battles. He crushed the Romans again and again and again, but he did not crush their spirit. He didn't break their morale. Rome just went, okay, let's go again and again and again. And that's the thing about war, right? War is destructive and horrifying, but if a society decides, no, we are winning this, it's very hard to push against that, regardless of your weaponry, regardless of technology, etc. It's, in the end, it does come down to will, in a way, in the sense of, like, as long as people want something to happen, it will.
TLDR, the clans brought their best. And Space AT&T said, get bent, weirdo. Next time, though, we'll get back to what I promised. A space story. Catch, fuck off with the laser pointer.
It's a laser sight. These future guns kick ass.
I don't care. You could put someone's eye out.
Okay, fine. It turns out that's not a safety. The more you know.
God damn it, Catch.
God dang it. The...
the gravitas focus, where the three
Well then, there we go. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really like the Battle of Tukayyid. I think it's a very interesting moment in Battletech history, and it relates to a lot of real life stuff, like I mentioned, the Battle of Kanai, etc. Feels very appropriate there. Although, I guess if the inner sphere is Rome, maybe it's more like the battle between, I forget the name, the battle between Scipio and Hannibal in North Africa. I forget. I need to look it up. I don't think it was Gaugamela, was it? I'll look it up sometime. Anyway, yeah, though, I hope you all enjoyed it. Let's take a look if there's anything else in the video. There is not. Okay. Just had to make sure. Well then, with that, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. A little bit of a shorter video this week, I know, but I wanted to have something about Tukayyid, and, you know, I've had quite a busy weekend preparing for the move soon. That's kind of exciting. Regardless, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, there's my Discord down below that you can join if you would like. I also do streams every single weekday except for Wednesday, so if you did check that out, we're going to be doing more Battletech over on Friday, so feel free to check that out. Regardless, special thank you to our very important planet, Aku, and of course, Tato, Orlandog, Reed, Any Cute Puppy, and Alex the DM over on Ko-Fi for your support. Thank you, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye! Oh, and I completely forgot to mention, if you guys want to join the members in the back that are scrolling behind me, you can press that button right there. There's the like and subscribe and all that stuff. Gotta do the YouTuber thing, you know it. Anyway, bye-bye now!